Hi, this is Dr. Scott Young, and today we're going to talk a little bit about a YouTube video with Tucker, and it's Rob Schneider, an actor, and you're going to hear him first start off. He's talking about an actor, and he's talking about people speaking out, and he's talking about conspiracy theory points. Okay, so it always comes up here, and it kind of comes up fast. So just catch on. We'll pause in between a few time frames here. We'll talk a little bit about that.
This young actor who's the son of a very famous Academy Award winning actor who called me and said, I wish I could say what you say. Because I agree with you. I agree with everything you're saying. I wish I could say it. And I said, I want to say it sometimes.
Okay, firstly, one of the things that you notice that he's saying is that many of us have something that we want to say, and we believe in that. We believe the circumstance, right? I mean, we're talking about speaking something out online because of every crazy thing that's been going on since 2020, and maybe before, but more specifically about 2020. Okay, so now think about that backdrop just for a second. Just think about where you might land upon that issue on both sides of that area, right?
I said, be careful.
Yeah.
He said, you have to be judicious about it. He said, I'm worried about losing work. And here's the thing, because I forget which one. There was a survey that was done by my great friend Andrew Doyle talks about it in his book. It was a survey done by I forget the group. But they said 2/3 of Americans are afraid to speak their mind, 2/3 because they might cause offense. And another third are worried that it might affect their job opportunities. So this is a real thing. We can't continue as a society if everybody's so afraid. That was what Alexander de Tocqueville admired most about America when he came here.
Okay, so firstly, 2/3 won't say anything about what they're feeling, the silent ones, because they're afraid of the potential backlash, right? And secondly, the ones that are afraid of the other third he's talking about. Now, I'm not sure the whole issues of the survey. That's not really relevant with that too. We're talking about fear. Or the last third are saying, hey, listen, I could lose my job. And I interact with people all the time on different levels. And many of you are feeling that. But the ones who are awakened are perceiving the world as unawake. And they say, you might be surprised how many more people are awake than you realize. They're just fearful of going against the flow in essence here. But listen to how he kind of frames it a little bit more.
The Frenchman seeing like people speak their mind here. That is a unique thing. That is, the idea of freedom of speech is there's not an accident that was put first before guns. They know that if you want to really protect society, and your best weapon against tyranny is to be able to speak your mind, to be able to speak freely without reproach and recrimination from your government. That isn't to say there are not consequences for it, but the consequences of not speaking are going to be much, much higher. So this young person was telling me,
okay, think about that for a second. The consequences of not speaking out are much greater. You start messing yourself up inside by not doing that. Now, we're not talking about indiscriminate. Again, if you notice, he talks about judicially, okay? And I see people who go way on the other end of this and like scream at everyone online too. And I'm like, first off, you wouldn't walk through, different places that you want to work with, like businesses, and you want to work with them, and you wouldn't scream at them for any indiscretion that they might be having. Like they didn't clean up near the garbage can enough. You have no idea why that is happening that way, right? And people do that. They kind of go to the extreme, and there's consequences of that, right? And some of those things, I would say there's a lot of lack of judiciousness on both sides of this, right? There's people who should be speaking up, but they're scared of their job. But then what happens if they're scared of their job? What happens if enough people rise up and then the owner of the company is going, hey, man, I didn't know you guys felt that way. Maybe it's something that we really need to address. And frankly, as a business owner myself, I had a patient who was telling me a story. He's a really cool guy. He tells me a story about an employee that I actually had to fire. This is years and years ago. And he said, he was talking to me about this because I help him program his car or something like that with his hearing aids. Long story with that. And he goes, I was about ready to leave you guys because of her. And I was like, and I said, I'm so sorry about that. I wish I had known that. I wish I had done better with that issue. So I was taking responsibility of that because I should have done it. She was having enough troubles with us. I had no idea what she was doing to other people. And frankly, that's what judicious speaking out can do, is kind of inform the crowd. I'm not with you in this way. And yet you might find out more of the crowd are with you than you think they are, right? That's what he's kind of saying here.
I want to speak my mind, and I want to talk about it, but I'm afraid about losing work. And I said, I said, just be judicious. Talk about it in your life, but it will affect your work if you do.
Yeah.
Some people need to stand up, but I said,
did it affect yours?
Absolutely, 100%.
So your friend was right.
My friend was right. He was right, but I want to say that to that young actor, I said, look, you can talk to the makeup person. You can talk to the driver.
Yeah. They'll always agree with you, I've noticed through long experience.
People who work for a living, they know this is all bullshit.
Yes, they
talk
do.
to your driver, talk to your Uber driver, talk to the makeup person, talk to the boom man between shots.
Exactly.
But don't talk to the producer. Don't talk to the director. Don't talk to the studio executive, because they're all captured. They're stuck in an ideological, woke.
Okay, so a really important point here. Sometimes you guys want to wake your friends up, and it's fine, I get it. But what he's saying is like, listen, why are you going to spill the beans in front of someone that you almost know for sure is captured in his words here? And I see this quite a bit. It's a very powerful point here. Why not start to ask questions of those people that you're wondering about? What do you feel about this? What do you feel about that? See what their responses might be in there. It's very powerful how he's kind of framing this too.
Mind virus, and they're not going to get at it because it could affect their work, because they don't operate like an actor operates. I just want to get hired. I just want to get work, and every actor just wants to get hired. But they operate from a different perspective. The executives at studios in Hollywood, they know they're going to get fired. They know it. It's just a matter of time. But they operate not what's the best movie, what can I do that is meaningful to me. They don't operate that way. When they make decisions to make projects, they operate like, what will delay my inevitable firing the longest? How do I keep this beach house? How do I keep traveling on weekends? How do I keep dating these beautiful girls who are only dating me because I'm an executive? So that's the crux.
That is so. I hope people watching this know how true what you just said is.
People are doing this. Now he's talking about Hollywood, but people do this in their everyday life. And one of the things that I'm going to want to talk with you about here in a little bit is the difference between people who are done and have barely anything to lose versus the people who have a whole bunch to lose. And when you realize the difference between having a lot to lose and having a little to lose is incredible difference here. And by the way, you're talking about your courage level, and you're talking about your ability to have judiciousness in the nature here. So wow, he's got good points here with this too. And that's why some people are actually going along with the lunacy, because their job actually is about it. But if they really had nothing to, if the job wasn't a problem, they might not go along with the information. Excuse me, might not go along with the information that's being presented in the media, right?
It's so true.
And it's not just the entertainment. I'm sure it's everywhere. People's like, they're just worried. I got to ride this out as long as I can. But it did affect me, but it freed me. And you know what that's like. It does. It liberates you when you no longer feel a slave to the system. Yeah. When they don't own you, you are free. I mean, you're going to have to figure out how to make a living elsewhere. But like I said to myself, and that's why I love Chris Rock. Chris Rock was like, sometimes you have a friend who like, we did Grown Ups together. We were together every day, and I just watched him in his mind. And he changed stand-up comedy, and he's the one who talked me into doing stand-up again. Because Adam Sandler, he loves me, and I listened to what he says, but he wasn't doing stand-up at that time. But Chris Rock was, and he was the best at it. He changed modern stand-up to what it is now. He was a real influence on that we built on, and he talked me into doing it again. And I was like, wow, that changed me. And I said, they can take away the movies. They can take away doing a TV show, but they can't stop me. I always said this to myself. They can't stop me from performing with a bunch of other malcontents in a darkened drinking establishment. What they want to come see me. They can't take that away. And you know what, Tucker? They did. They did take it away. In COVID, they took it away. I couldn't even perform. And then they said, you can perform. And I would go to every state that was still open. I did 14 shows for whatever capacity that they would do during COVID in the one place that was open in Nashville at that time, because they said 50% capacity. So I'll just keep doing shows as long as people come. And I did 14. I have the record for shows there, for half sold out show. I sold out every show with the half capacity. And so people didn't want to come anymore. I did 4. I stayed for a week. I could have stayed longer. A week was long enough.
Okay, so I mean, you get the idea here, but catch where he's going on this. Where do you guys lie? Do you find yourself speaking out, and I hear this a lot, speaking out, and you're speaking out and telling people all of your stuff? It's like you're vomiting upon them. Man, I have done that too. I have done it, and it's dumb. It's dumb when we do that. Whereas, my wife has this judicious nature to her, right? She teaches me all the time. One of the wonderful things about her is that when she speaks out, she's asking questions. It's the probing points of those questions. What are you feeling about this? What about? Now, if you start finding out you got the woke mind virus deep within the soul of that person, what are you doing, right? I don't care how close you are or how far away you are from that person. What are you trying to do? See, that's the judicious nature of that, right? But secondarily, we find ourselves in fear, those who don't speak out. And we do that because we're worried about our jobs, or we're worried about what other people think of us. I mean, I'm going to tell you now, as a business owner, it does help with that. But listen, almost everyone in my profession hates my guts. Did you know that? Most of the audiologists I know are, very liberal in their viewpoint. And they can't stand me because they've seen my stuff online. And it's a very difficult place to be in. I mean, I'll go to conferences and I'm sitting alone and no one wants to sit with me. It really wasn't that way, before I started to speak out. I don't worry about it. I'll come down, have my iPad out with my Bible on it, and I'll just start reading the Bible. If you don't want to be there that way with me, that's fine. And it's not like I'm trying to sit in a corner, or I'll sit where everyone might be able to come in and would at least have an opportunity to sit with me, because I know these people. I know a huge amount of my people in this industry, but they don't want anything to do with me. Now, part of it is some of them are scared, and other part is they don't want to deal with it. And I'm going to tell you, there's a liberation that he's talking about. Rob is bringing up a great point. There's a liberation, but is God asking you to step out for some particular reason? What is happening inside of you? Now, I talk to lots and lots of people who communicate with me online. Sometimes God tells me to call them up on the phone. And one of the things that I listen to their story, and then we talk about things. They're asking me questions, and I'll go off and and do my thing. And what I say near the end is I tend to pray for people, number one, but number two, I also kind of, as I'm listening to them, I'm talking to them about what they need to do post Nasara. Meaning, what happens after this thing goes? What are you going to be? And that is a powerful point. Maybe you need to be the mayor of your town or city council. Maybe you need to be taking over a business. Maybe you need to be the pastor of that church. And you're going, but I don't have that capability. Yeah, just set it in front of God. Okay, just set it out there and see what he's telling you with that too. But maybe you're not allowed to yet because you haven't stepped out. You haven't set up and said, you know what? I'm not going to worry about what other people are saying because I am going to speak up on that one area. And then people start realizing, and you better research a little bit before you do this. Now, I love it when I see people on Twitter and in others where they'll speak out, and they're speaking out from that from their level of platform. And you can see it when someone is passionate about the viewpoint and researches it well. It has nothing to do with education or ability to write, but passion and a little bit of research is pretty powerful to deal with. So that's what I just want you to kind of, just to have a thought process. Can you speak out online, and what might that do for you? Yes, there are people who will hate you. Don't worry about that. I really don't. I've lost that fear because I get so much of it. I mean, I always say to people, I get 500 to 800 messages a week, and a good third of them, a quarter, a third of them hate my guts and saying bad things about me. You just have to worry about other things I can deal with. Okay. So that's just an encouragement to kind of realize that might be God preparing you for the next step that you need to take. Hope it helps you, gives you an idea. You can always go to drscottyoung.com. You can see some research that I have on there, some articles, and some books that might help you out too. Thanks so much.